Welcome to part 23 of the 2018 NFL Draft in Review. Today we will be taking a look at the 2018 Green Bay Packers class. And this is a class that looked a little better on paper when it was first selected than it ended up being, as really, if you've paid attention over the last 5 years, there's only really 3 players of this class that are really still left in the league, aside from a practice squatter or two. But in essence, this will probably be a pretty quick class because, like I said, there's not very much to this. So we'll begin with the 18th selection, cornerback Jaire Alexander, and he's done pretty well for Green Bay. He's been one of the league's better corners, according to a fair amount of people that I talk with, and as well as expert opinion and other things like that. And I would say he started to really come into his own last year. He had a 5-interception season. Hasn't done a super job when the ball gets in his hands, but it is what it is, really, in that kind of situation. Does well enough on the tackling front. They don't really use him very much for blitzes and other non-conventional packages like that, which allows him to just thrive in doing his job. So, we'll now come over here, take a look at some of his top plays from last season.
Big plays when they had to. And they've really been in control a lot of this game as Cook tackled on the outside. The time continues to run. And then the Bucs, which we will be there in Tampa for that one. That'll be great. Here's Cook racing to the edge.
Stay in bounds.
Goes out of bounds.
Oh, stay in bounds.
I don't think that was the plan, but
got to stay in bounds.
3rd and 2, looked like the timing was a little messed up there. Fields trying to use that athleticism, and will finally chase him down. Jaire Alexander with the stop. It'll be 4th down, and the Bears will bring the field goal unit on.
And I guess he's reading out there, but if he were reading out there, maybe he just never saw it. I think when the snap surprised him, he lost the read and they lost the play. It just was a total breakdown.
Yeah, Whitehair, the guard's looking back at him, right? And the ball snapped. And Preston Smith is... Second down, Fields chased by Gary. He escapes the pocket, and you see his athletic ability, but he threw it back.
Good interception
At the 39-yard line, Jaire Alexander comes up with the INT.
Came from so far across the field. He is so far behind in this foot race.
He's there?
This is like me racing Usain Bolt. He was 10 yards behind. He closed the gap. You can't even see him in the picture. And he made the play. That was ridiculous. No wonder they paid him $20 million.
Yeah, that was just a very, very good play.
3rd and 13, wants the screen for Barkley, who makes the catch. Probably better off to let that one drop. Jaire Alexander all over him. It's a loss of 4.
Jaire Alexander was playing that left side flat. He was at the bottom of your screen, and as soon as he saw that ball come in,
he have an almost safety
like a heat-seeking missile. He was all over 26.
Judge of where the ball is.
Zach Wilson backed up, looking for some offense. It hits Garrett Wilson, but it's incomplete. Looked like he hit him in stride, but Jaire Alexander might have helped knock it away. Wilson keeps looking. No one's open. Fires. Incomplete. Jaire Alexander. Outstanding coverage on Garrett Wilson. Zach Wilson had really nowhere to go. Field goal try coming up.
Yeah, and Jaire Alexander, he's followed Garrett.
And look at that wobbly shit of a pass. Yeah, you want to know why the Jets are trying to get Aaron Rodgers on the team? That's why Zach Wilson cannot throw a football with any authority whatsoever.
He's followed Garrett Wilson around the whole day. Every time Green Bay decides to go man, funny thing in this league.
Jets are 0 for 7 on 3rd down. Wilson taps it, throws far side, and that is nearly intercepted.
Everywhere he goes, this time he's the outside number 1 receiver. Garrett Wilson's trying to run a little comeback there on the sideline. And he's just in his hip pocket.
Placed ball,
he almost
completely behind the receiver.
You'd like to see Zach Wilson throw that ball a little further to the boundary.
It's one of the tight ends now. Here's Robinson. And Alexander meets him, and then Campbell wraps him up.
Answers everywhere. After the gain of 6, Allen's first pass is incomplete. Broken up in the secondary. Jair Alexander over there with Gabe Davis.
Take it away from Gabriel
Before the game
Davis.
airs,
He's not as good as Stephon Diggs.
Incompletion makes it 3rd and long 4, and Allen looking to take off. Instead, will flip it downfield to Davis, underthrown and nearly intercepted. Alexander going back with him.
One of the great things that Josh Allen will do is he'll act like he's going to run and then go sideways and flip this ball up. And this is just a fantastic start here for Jair Alexander. A 3 and out.
Packers break 3. Allen throws end zone for Shakir. Incomplete. Jair Alexander.
Yeah, like I said, I can understand his reputation pretty easily already. You know, he's doesn't have the best hands. That's why we see the career-high interceptions in his 5th season. But he's very good at making wide receivers work for it. You know, I'm sure he can be beaten. There's probably some plays there that I'm not seeing, but it is very, very clearly difficult to beat this guy. You know, the Packers defense is doing what it can. It's the offense that hasn't been carrying its end for the last few seasons. So now I'll go back over here. At the second selection, they picked another cornerback, Joshua Jackson. When he was selected, I actually thought there was a reasonable shot that he could have been better than Alexander, but it never really materialized. He hasn't really started at all since his rookie season, and yeah, it is what it is. He didn't do a particularly super job, and just kind of faded off after some time. Honestly, his numbers compared to games played and everything these days kind of seems to imply it's maybe more of a special teamer now. So, just not a very good selection there, followed by another reasonably poor selection inside linebacker, Oren Burks. And as I recall, Burks was selected when the Packers had a substantially tougher inside linebacker position, so I really don't know what they were doing spending a 3rd-round selection on this guy. And he's had some playing time in the league, but it's been almost entirely as a backup. I don't like a selection like this because this is the 3rd round. This is still day 2. What are you doing selecting backups on day 2? Your team was not that good. And, well, we see the results. The Packers are kind of floundering now, and I would kind of say that's the sort of thing of why. Next, we have a 4th round wide receiver, Jamon Moore. Another one that didn't really pan out. 2 catches his entire NFL career. He hasn't been off a practice squad in the NFL since his rookie season with the Packers. And he's now sitting, I believe, a practice squad in the USFL. So that should tell you really all you need to know. He is really not a very good player, it seems. So just another poor choice by the Packers in that draft. Next, we have offensive guard Cole Madison. Madison has pretty much never hit the field in the NFL. He's been out of the league since 2019. And he's taken... part of it is because of some mental health issues, so I will at least, I'll give him the pass there. Your mental health is more important than a game, obviously. So... it's sad because I saw him as a potential, another later round offensive line steal potentially, but never came to fruition. So that just is what it is. Next we have punter J.K. Scott. And surprisingly, I actually have a little to say here. And J.K. Scott has pretty much been a starting punter much of his career. 4 out of 5 seasons. And while I wouldn't really say a 44.3 career yards per punt average is particularly impressive anymore, it's still not bad. He does very well getting the ball down inside the 20, which makes it surprising that teams wouldn't want him around. Like I said, he's been on, this is his third team in 5 seasons. But I think now it may stabilize potentially. You know, he's been doing very well at avoiding touchbacks, pretty well at getting it down inside the 20. Very few blocks. Usually doesn't seem to give guys very much chance to return the kick. I mean, 66 return yards last year. That's surprisingly low. Usually I see a little more going on there. But overall, good. This is actually a pretty good selection. It's kind of a shame the Packers didn't keep him around. Next, we have the final player that I've actually got a highlight tab open for, and that is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And he hasn't really been a super important player to the teams he's been on, but he has put up some contribution. And with Juju Smith-Schuster no longer in Kansas City, he might get a chance to kind of show off, see if he can do a little more, assuming, of course, that the Chiefs don't elevate someone like Sky Moore to a more prominent role, or draft or trade for somebody. So we'll see what goes on there. But for now, it looks like that Scantling might get his chance. And we'll now come over here.
9.
Challenge is a great turn.
There it is to Valdes-Scantling.
For the backside and get on top of Kelsey and let him do something over here.
Drops back, floats, fires, finds.
Was really banged up. First down, deep shot down the middle of the field. Brought in at the 15-yard line by Marquez Valdes-Scantling. First 4 games.
So far, these
to Juju, shot down the sideline, brought in by Marquez Valdes-Scantling to the 25. Great movement with the eyes and play design.
You do have to respect the player.
Crosby coming off the edge, doesn't get there. The pass somehow for a first down is into Valdes-Scantling. Leading by 1 now. Mahomes caught. Valdes-Scantling. Third down and 8. Chiefs pick up the pressure, and the pass is caught by Valdes-Scantling. Good throw, good catch. First down, Kansas.
Mahomes has a lot of time going deep. Valdes-Scantling has it down to the 30. Perfect throw from Mahomes, and Marquez Valdes. Mahomes going deep, has a man. Valdes-Scantling makes the catch inside the 30.
If Mahomes put a little more juice on that, he might have had a touchdown on that one. But yeah, like I said, it's Scantling is a receiver that you don't have to really account for, but you do have to pay attention. So he's definitely, I would say, a reasonable deep threat. The Chiefs do have a use for him, and I would say that he might well have a chance to really establish himself as a high-end, at least number 2 receiver for the Chiefs this next season. Next we have another receiver, the third that they selected in 2018, Equanimeous St. Brown. And this is one that he made a couple of plays, but there's not really enough to justify taking a deeper look at him, because he is what he is. He's kind of just sat where he is. He's about a number 3, number 4 type of receiver. Were he any better at doing that, he'd be higher up the board, obviously. So, not much to really say here. He's someone that you'll hear the name of every now and again, but it's not enough to really say anything more than that. The 7th round, the Packers basically just said, fuck it, let it be over. A defensive end, James Looney from California. He's never hit the field. He's currently a free agent, and I believe he actually flipped from defense to offense. I think that listed him as a tight end. American football tight end. Yeah, so, no. Then they drafted a long snapper, Hunter Bradley. Bradley is the last player of this class who has really saw any playing time, but I mean, come on, this is a long snapper we're talking about. It's not like you really have to beat anyone for this. And I just don't agree with this sort of selection. You know, it says somewhere in here, I think, that he was like the ninth long snapper ever drafted. Why draft a long snapper? It's such an inconsequential part of a unit. Yeah, you need one, but you can easily put really any lineman who's had experience with snapping a football at this position. You don't need to draft a purpose-built long snapper. It just doesn't make sense. As far as I know, he is a free agent now, but he spent last season as a practice squad with the Cardinals. So I just don't agree with that pick. You don't need to draft a long snapper under really any circumstances. And the final one is Kendall Donnerson, outside linebacker. I think they moved to defensive end. Yeah. And he's been a practice squatter his entire career after a rookie season where he didn't see the field at all. So it's just kind of a throwaway pick at the very end of the draft. So when this was originally selected, I graded this draft around a B+. I figured Alexander and Jackson would be defensive cornerstones. Maybe Scantling would be a good receiver. Madison would be an offensive line steal. And J.K. Scott looked like he might become one of the better punters in the league. But obviously, Scantling's never really advanced beyond a low-end number 2 receiver level. Joshua Jackson, Cole Madison fizzled out. J.K. Scott's no longer with the Packers. And that just leaves Jerry Alexander. And yeah, I would bring this class down to probably a C or a C-. There's just not enough here. The only really good players are Alexander and Scott, so this really does ultimately serve as a very good example of why the Packers have ended up where they are. They blew a number of picks on things they didn't need. They took 3 receivers, 2 of them didn't pan out, and then they basically ignored the position, which has led them to the present situation of Aaron Rodgers being pissed at his team and wanting out. So overall, it wasn't a very good class in the end, and it to me, this kind of screamed a team drafting like they thought they didn't really need anything else. And they've kept doing this, and the Packers are getting increasingly worse the longer they keep doing this. But that'll do it for today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you tomorrow for the 2018 Chicago Bears draft.